I've worked in 3 companies, telling lies to people, mainly to men. The most memorable ones are Samuel from the UK and Clive Titus from South Africa. The area code was +27, and I always fantasized about calling him and telling him that this was all a lie, begging him not to give any more of the money he didn't even have. He was a man in his 40s. I never managed to understand where he worked because of his South African accent, and I felt bad asking again for the 10th time because I didn't want to come out looking like an idiot, even though he was totally with me and was never condescending like the British clients were. A British guy once called me a European cunt because of my accent when speaking English. At first, they called me Stephanie, and then at the other 2 companies I changed it to Natalie Reed. I only worked with men at the sales desk. They constantly told me to use my femininity to make sales. I made more sales than all of the other employees there. I don't know how I did it because every time I was on the phone with the client, I was crazy stressed and felt like I was choking. It was pure resistance against myself. My jaw was tense and I smoked weed every day at 1:40 p.m. right after lunch, and it always made me feel bad. I disconnected and my brain became mush and I couldn't talk or sell or breathe. And every day at 2 o'clock I'd black out as I returned for my break, high as a kite, and sit on the wheeled office chair, a screeching sound accompanying my weight as I'd plummet onto it. I was in a room full of people, staring at the screen and trying to seem like I was occupied by very important things, scrolling over the mouse pad and clicking on things. I couldn't bear to hear that hard mouse's click, and the giant headphones were scorching hot, and my head felt terrible. I felt terrible. I'd stare at the computer screen whilst baked off 3 tokes. I tried to stop feeling this way, yet every day I smoked and knew I'd feel bad straight after, but smoked nonetheless. Why did I smoke nonetheless? In any case, at 2 p.m. I'd have to get back on the phone and sell to the British clients because that was their time of day. I always felt terrible and anxious. Poison, disconnection, resistance, inner death, and I tried to test my limits, each time extending them further and further as I acted against my own intuitions, against my own principles. I wanted to feel that way. I wanted a big fat reason to hate myself so that I could go out into the world feeling like I'm trash and like I deserve all the bad things happening to me because I'm a manipulative piece of trash, manipulative bitch, liar, fraud, trash. Samuel from England received national insurance benefits. He was young. I once looked him up on Facebook and found him. Even before my resignation from the first company, I had kept his number in case I'd ever want to clear my conscience and tell him that it was all a scam and that I'm sorry. I still have his number, and 1,000 fraudulent commerce companies at the Ramatgan stock market who claim to be calling from England probably have his number too. Oh man, but it was so fun telling anyone who'd asked that I was working at the Moshe Aviv Towers. I walked around in high heels every day. I wore tailored suits and dressed like a real businesswoman. I felt like a bitch and it turned me on. We had a Hasidic Jew there who was a cokehead. There was this 40-something-year-old family man who'd started out at the retention desk where anyone who really worked really lost their soul. It's the point of no return. I don't know how one can continue living after having charred someone's life by taking away all of their savings, after persuading them to sell their house and their car and to take out a 50,000-pound loan from the bank in order to enter a trade whereby they're meant to earn 100 times more. I can't even begin to tell you how much fraud occurred at the retention desk. I don't know. Retention's where one creates meaningful relationships with the clients, months-long relationships, building trust, showing results and profits from the person's investment there. Retention agents figure out how much money you really have and then persuade you to invest a whole lot more than that. I'm starting to feel that it's difficult for me to write about this. It's strange places. At my peak, I made 14 grand a month for my sales. My boss called the British clients sheep. We were never, 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 never to mess with US citizens. Never. A short while ago, the FBI arrested Liel Baz as she landed in New York. She was sentenced to 22 years in prison for investment fraud of 145 million shekels. The fraud was much greater than that. I'm certain of it. I don't know why I'm writing this. This is another side of me. I'd wanted to experience it. I've had numerous dreams about Samuel and Clive. I felt bad. I once called Samuel in England on WhatsApp and he didn't pick up. Don't know what I was thinking. He must have seen my phone number and my name too. What the hell was I trying to do there? I thought maybe I'd tell him and he'd forgive me. But why did I put myself in such a vulnerable place? I'd get screwed big time if he then contacted the company or filed a civil lawsuit. We were never allowed to contact the clients outside office hours. The entire company would burn to the ground because then they discovered that we were actually calling from Israel and that my name wasn't Stephanie at all. Also, I was entertained by the idea of having such power over them. I'd only worked there for 4 months, but I knew that if I wanted to, I could really fuck them over. The companies remained the same companies with pretty much the same employees, but they would change their platforms and their names after 6 to 12 months because the internet would fill to the brim with bad reviews, which would in turn abolish any and all sales, because once you'd Googled the company name, say Roitex, for instance, the first thing you'd see is, it doesn't matter. You don't see anything anymore because the domain is gone and the website no longer exists. I'll try eMarkets Trade. Found it, but never mind. Don't want to talk about it anymore. It makes me feel terrible. For some reason, I took a Focalin pill an hour ago. It expired over a month ago, but I don't think it matters. Would be ashamed to have it go to waste. Each pill's like 7 shekels, and I took it because I'm a bit tired of feeling what I'm feeling. I'm looking for thrills. I'm bored. I'm lacking something, really lacking something, and feeling vacant. Enough, I'm in pain. There's a bad feeling deep in my stomach, and I'm scared. I've asked the psychiatrist to lower my antidepressant dosage because I felt mania symptoms on Sunday. I felt an unjustified sense of strength and love, and it scared me. I then took a momentary step back, and the feeling ceased. I sensed the deterioration since Tuesday morning. I saw it happening and couldn't stop it. By nighttime, I was already feeling really bad. Each of these episodes takes something away from me, never to return. Now my heart's racing because of the Focalin, and I feel bad. Why did I do it? Something is lacking in me. Something is lacking in me. Something is lacking. I feel as though something's been taken from me. I think that I over-identify with my feelings. My social worker told me that, and I think it's true. I also really want to be understood because it's hard for me to explain. It makes me feel stressed. So many thoughts rush through my mind, and each one floods me, and then I forget what I'd wanted to say to begin with. And no one understands me. I wish they'd understand me, and then I wouldn't have to put in so much effort because I'm all out of strength. It's funny that I can't express myself well with words because I find it difficult and it demands so much from me. But back when I was working for those companies, I was the #1 employee in sales. I had to turn off and extinguish a side of me in order for that to work.